Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek Podcast.
You know, all species put things into boxes. It's like you're either this or you're that. And sometimes we act a certain way to fit people's expectations, but that's not necessarily who we are. And sometimes, like on the bridge just now, it can limit us.
You are proposing I better balance my human and Vulcan natures.
I'm saying maybe you're neither.
That is nonsensical. If I'm not human or Vulcan, what am I?
I mean, that's not my question to answer. Sorry. Boundaries. I've just known a few Vulcans as well.
How about this?
Star Trek.
Yes, let's go ahead and start the old podcast.
Let's cut out like most of the silly.
This thing we do every week.
Save up some silly for later.
Yeah, we got all sorts of silliness going on.
Or we don't want to get too silly too early because then we'll just be way too silly by the end.
That's right. Don't front load.
There's that too.
Don't front load the silly. Don't front load the silly. That's an old media aphorism in the media. All right. It's got Star Trek podcast. This is that particular podcast. It's got Star Trek podcast.
That one.
It is episode 137 of the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
How do you know?
I've been keeping track.
Says you.
Yeah.
He has a count.
I'm declaring that.
He has a count of them.
He's
Feel
Count
free-
Patrick.
Feel free to challenge that.
I can't. I wish I could.
Okay, so in the episode 137, we are discussing Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the Serene Squall, which we now know was the name of a ship.
Right. Serene means calm, peaceful, and untroubled. Tranquil. And squall means a sudden violent gust of wind or a localized storm, especially one bringing rain, snow, or sleet.
Would you suggest, Dan and Jesse, that these two words are the antithesis of each other?
Yes, it's an ironical name.
It's one of those kind of, yeah.
Is it ironical?
I think so because it's
I suppose anything can be ironical.
Well,
not sure if it's ironic or not.
Are you making what's the point you're making here?
I'm not making a point because I don't have sufficient education
What's the
and
difference
knowledge.
between ironical and ironic? I was being ironic by saying ironical.
Is ironical a word?
With no offense intended. No, it is not a word.
It's fun to say, though.
And hence, since it is not a word, it can thus be coined, and you may apply any definition to it that you wish.
But it's all about what people how you know people to interpret it, and everyone knows how to interpret it. Because that's what language is.
I'm not 100% sure about that because I'm not sure. Does it mean like ironic-ish?
It's just a way of saying I'm being ironic.
Ironical? Of having the attributes of being ironic?
I was ironic by saying ironical.
You were speaking ironically?
I was being ironic by being ironical. But you're right, Jesse. Ironically is a word, so it's probably someone just took ironically and said ironical. But
you did.
Yes. I don't know why you keep saying someone. You should.
No, but I'm not the first person to do this. This is something that people have done.
Well, great minds do think alike. That's a good point.
I don't know if I'm supposed to accept that or reject that. Something
Star Trek.
Ironically is an adjective. Yeah. Ironic is a verb.
Well, ironically is sort of an adverb.
Whatever. Okay.
Is it an adverb?
I don't.
Ironically.
I mean, you're probably right.
If you're doing something ironically.
Sure, but the point is ironic is just a straight verb, and ironical is a straight verb. Ironical is a messed up interpretation, a messed up form of ironic. I just heard people say it, and I thought it was cute to say. That's all. Okay. So the name good. Serene Squall's ironic name.
All right. Okay.
I just don't want people to think I'm stupid because I'm really insecure. Is the truth of it. And I want people to know that I was joking. I knew that.
I want people to know that I'm insecure.
I knew what it meant. Okay.
You did. Okay. All right. We're all good. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page.
We can move on.
We can move along to actually discussing the episode.
Serene Squall.
Serene Squall. Okay. So, first of all, Cybok.
Oh.
Cybok.
Not to be mistaken with Noob Saibot from Mortal
Didn't see
Kombat.
that one coming.
Is there a Cybot?
There's a Noob Saibot in
Noob Cybot.
in Mortal Kombat.
Which no Mortal Kombat?
I think it's been there since either the first or the second.
Noob Cybot?
It was a secret character, and it's
Oh, I
the
did
game
not
was
know that.
it's named. It's the names of the creators backwards.
noob.
There's Tobias and Tobias and Boone. I forget their first names. Who they were the two creators.
You should be doing a video game podcast.
Yeah,
You
I
got
know a
all
lot
that
of
knowledge locked in. I did not know about that secret character.
Yeah, so Noob is Boone backwards. Cybot is Tobias backwards, and those were like the founders
All
or
right.
something.
But in this case, we're talking about Cybok.
which
Quite
sounds like
something.
which does sound like a robot kind of person, right?
And
Cybok?
I know it's from the end of the episode, but I bring it up now both because we can't avoid that, and secondly because I totally called it a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Because when they were talking about the Vulcans who had rejected emotion, I was like, oh, I wonder if
Right, yeah.
are they going to bring Cybok in this way?
You were totally right.
Yeah.
It's the Vatosh Couture. Was Cybok? Is Vatosh Couture?
It's like Haute Couture,
Host Couture?
Huskerdu,
House
Huskerdon't.
Host Gator.
Yeah, Host Gator's pretty rad.
So
At least used to be.
The Vatosh Couture. When was that coin termed? When was Couture coined? Termed?
What?
When was Couture termed coin? When was Couture coined a term?
Okay, all right.
When was Vosh Couture coined a term?
Okay, we're
you
almost
having a- are you
there.
having a
We're almost
stroke?
there. And by the way, I would not dare attempt this,
Don't attempt to say
but
what.
I want to support your journey.
I say don't attempt.
I want to
say-
support your journey of getting through that very brief sentence. Very brief but hard to pronounce sentence. All right, give it a try.
When was Vatosh Couture? When was Vatosh? Okay. When was Vatosh Couture coined a term?
Okay, that's all right.
Is that not what I was supposed to say?
You could say when was the term? What is it?
When was the turn? When was the turn of the point?
coined?
When was the term point? When was when was the term Vatosh Couture coined?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
did it.
three pretty sophisticated fellas here. You know
Yeah,
that.
we are quite.
But you know,
Was it
sometimes
before
it doesn't
or
show
after
through.
like Kawat Malat?
Yeah, nobody really knows about Kawat Malat.
But see, I can pronounce Kawat Malat better than
It rolls,
like,
rolls right off.
Voldemort.
Voldemort. So
Voldemort Couture.
Bosh Ganache.
Oshkosh Bagash.
Bakish.
well, they claim to have finally. I'm reading the Memory Alpha. Management of the constant discipline meditation.
You were literally reading the memory alpha.
Like in the middle of it.
I can imagine you in bed at night with a hefty novel propped upon your chest, and you're just like.
Well, I'm trying to figure out when they when they coined the term Vatosh Couture. Like, when did they coin the term Vatosh
Yeah,
Couture?
is it a new thing or not? I'm not
Because-
familiar with it, so it
because-
seems like it might be a new thing,
And
but
it
it could also
definitely-
be from the books.
And it definitely wasn't around the time of Star Trek V, right? Like Undiscovered Country.
The movie with that dude in it.
I don't know that they mentioned it.
Because Cybok,
Silly,
they're
silly
calling
movie.
the reason I say they're calling Cybok Vatosh Couture, but he wasn't known that back.
But
when
that-
he
no,
was
no, no,
introduced.
That's
was-
like some kind of movement or something.
But that was the name of the fellow. That was the name of the group.
they were
right?
calling him like
No,
Serenus
that's
and-
yes, the name of the group.
And the name of the fellow was I'm trying to remember because I didn't
Cybok.
write- No, but
Serenus.
he was going under Tavernius or something like that.
Yeah.
He-
something like that.
Nirvana rules.
Why did? why did of all the things I wrote down, I didn't write this down.
I did
don't
write-
know why.
Alpha Braga 4.
Alpha Braga? No.
No,
Alpha
wait, that
Braga
was
4. No. No. Alpha. No. Alpha Braga.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, don't worry, audience. He will die down. in
It'll
just a
wear
little bit.
out.
He'll calm down.
Zavarius.
Zavarius. So I was right. I was like Tavernius.
Okay,
like
but
he
what I-
like, grew up in a tavern.
The point I was making is Cybok. There was
Slinging ale
Cybok.
for passing adventurers.
Yogurt slinging. Sybok was at the end of this episode. Sybok was in Star Trek V.
Yes.
So they referred to him as Vatosh Couture in this episode, but I'm just pointing out that there was not such a thing back when he was introduced.
His weird hair from
would you call that?
I believe this is a new term that we were being introduced to in this episode,
and you couldn't really call it a retcon because there just wasn't a term for.
Yeah,
maybe you could call it
adding layers.
Adding.
You're just adding layers.
I'm buying it.
You're just flapping the layer right on top.
I'm buying it.
You're taking that under layer and you're taking a nice moist new layer, just going flopping it right on top.
Vatosh Couture underwear. Underwear.
All right. Okay. So
okay, moving on.
Gosh.
Got through the whole Sybok. We'll talk more about Sybok in a bit.
Bagosh.
I just wanted to say the word Sybok to start out.
It's a robot Vulcan.
The robot.
Sybok.
The robot Vulcan.
Sybok man. Sybok man. Sybok man.
Where do you get this from?
If you happen to be a new listener, he does this from time to time, but then
where do you come up with this stuff?
Calms down.
He's a Sybok man. He does what he can. He's a Sybok man.
Sybok man.
So, my two main initial points about this episode were, for much of this episode, I had no fucking clue what was happening. That was point number one, and point number two is it didn't matter because there's a lot of there was awesome stuff in here.
Like sneaky space pirates.
It was campy. It had some clever and interesting and thought-provoking ideas nestled in there.
And some horrible Orion.
The other thing I wanted to say is basically,
goofy
especially the opening scene, but this whole episode felt the most sort of like Deep Space Nine style. It was just sort of structured and visually kind of had like a Deep Space Nine vibe to it. Not for the whole thing, but for big chunks of it.
I don't know if I was just maybe I was just a little sleepy at the time, but I remember getting confused at the introduction. Now, when you say the introduction, do you mean that between
the teaser,
Spock,
the opening teaser,
right?
Just the beginning.
When they introduce Captain Angel, who's not the real Dr. Aspen. Dr. Ansel, I don't know. Anyways, so she was posing as Dr. Aspen, who doesn't really have razor blades for palms, but Chapel was just trying to get Spock's attention by saying something crazy.
Yes.
But so the introduction of Dr. Ansel, Captain Angel, I was a little confused with that because it kind of just jumped in the middle of it, which is fine. I think I was just a little tired.
That part I was fine.
I was fine with it.
That's the standard.
But
an expert has arrived at the station,
but they didn't even
the spaceship to do some mission.
It was hard.
The Ferengi master of coin.
I didn't put together that she was Dr. Aspen at first.
Now
that's the thing is that they were talking about Dr. Aspen. And I was like, wait, who is this all about? What's going on here? It kind of jumped. I didn't know what was happening.
And real quick thing is for the pronouns, right? Dr. Aspen is pronounced with they pronouns, but then Captain Angel, I don't know if they also use they pronouns or not. I might assume that, but the actor playing the character was Jesse James Keitel,
right? And
Jesse James Keitel identifies as non-binary, but goes by, according to sources I saw, by she/her pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the pronoun groundwork.
All right.
Pronoun ground.
I like that was just, there was a subtleness there. There was no big deal made or anything.
They didn't need to do that.
Just, here's a new character we're checking out.
The other part that was more confusing that I had to rewatch, I was considering rewinding, I was like, I'll just catch it on the second time around, was the whole sort of, getting off on technicalities. So the dilemma was that T'Pring, she either had to dishonor her work by giving up a prisoner or whatever, or the other choice, she's either dishonor her work or dishonor her Vulcan love bond, basically. That was the whole thing. It's well, if I give you the prisoner, then my work will hate me. But if I give you Spock, then love will hate me, you know? Yeah. And that was the dilemma. And then the whole sort of technicality for they got, by freeing themselves from the love bond thing.
Yes.
That first, I was like, when I first watched this, I was like, maybe I'm tired. I don't know what the hell's going on right now.
A lot of this episode is super confusing.
But then I rewatched it and I was like, okay, I get what they were going. Yeah. I get what they were doing. It was kind of it was weird. It was a weird sort of jump, but whatever. It didn't matter.
I think we can start with some of these critiques because I have a lot of really great things to say about this episode. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. However, a few things did jump out, and one of them was, as I mentioned, there's just I wasn't clear a lot of the time what the plans were, what was going on, etc. Further viewings of the episode resolved some of those issues, and the example you just gave is an example of that, where the first time through I wasn't clear what was happening with T'Pring and Spock, but the second time through I was like, oh, okay, it's like a legal trickery thing. Oh, that's your standard old TV tropes, especially on Star Trek. Okay, I get it. Things that I still haven't resolved, and maybe you guys have an answer, or maybe some of the listeners have an answer, I don't know, was I don't know what their plan, what Dr. Aspen / Captain Angel's plan was in the first place. We are given to understand their plan was to kidnap Spock because T'Pring was in a position to free Sybok. Okay, I got that far.
And we didn't find that out till way later.
Yeah, we find that out at the end.
We find that out that was the husband she was talking about too, which I didn't catch on until the second round. Was like when she was talking about her husband.
I didn't even realize that until you just said that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if it was actually her husband in real life. I think it, or not. Okay, real life.
in real Star Trek.
In the real Star Trek life, I guess that was her real husband. But the person she was talking about, her husband, that was the whole deal.
I think you're right,
yeah.
And that makes sense. All right. What I don't understand is it's like, okay, her plan is she needs to kidnap Spock.
Aren't they?
They, yeah. So they need to capture Spock. So they take on the guise of a different person, in order to get onto the Enterprise, to be near Spock, I guess. Mm-hmm. And eventually, I guess the plan is as a single person to take over the Enterprise with the help of this pirate crew. Okay. So then, before that pirate crew stuff happens,
serious space scum
they get trapped in a laser beam net,
which looked more like a kind of like a Tholian.
It looked
web.
like that for a minute. I was like, wait a minute,
yeah.
the Tholian.
Maybe it was some like Tholian web technology.
No, because it was blue. It was blue. The Tholian web was yellow.
They use a different type of crystal. You know?
Oh, you're right. That's a good call.
Maybe it's a Boolean web. They're blue.
What?
It's a Boolean web.
What? They don't. What?
No way.
It's a Boolean web.
You just blew my mind, mister.
Blew my mind a little bit too. I'm proud of that. I'm happy. The rest of the podcast I can sort of slack off.
Good.
Because I got that Boolean web impromptu joke in there.
That's pretty good.
But okay,
Patrick, you're like a lemonade stand. You know why? Because you make sense. Jesse, you don't make any sense to me. I don't understand you.
Well,
I never tried.
Jesse's an enigmatic character.
That's what I'm going for.
That's what happens.
I'm just playing, being silly.
Yeah, you're a silly guy.
So they're trapped by this laser web net that's shrinking. Wasn't clear to me. Was that set by Captain Angel or not?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not clear.
If it, I kind of have to assume not, because like Captain Angel was the one who came up with the idea how to get out of it.
Yeah, right.
And I can't imagine it was some sort of complicated setup to force Spock to go on a hunch to pick between two targets in order to learn something about himself in such a way that he would be emotionally manipulated to not pay full attention when they're behind him in the engineering to take over the ship. It
wouldn't have made any sense for them to set up that web to begin with, right?
Well, it would have made sense if they then captured, and then if they didn't give them the way out of it.
Right.
So okay, I'm guessing it was not them who set it up. Maybe it was the Tholians, and it's just some little floppy thing they're plopping in there for later or something.
Well, that'd be kind of amazing, but it's probably not the case.
Floppiness.
Floppy Tholians, those floppy Tholians.
And then they go and please understand, I'm not saying that this plot is ludicrous or completely doesn't make any sense. I'm saying I'm just a little confused about everything. So then the Enterprise gets to the ship, and the ship is got they're like, oh, the colonists, we got to help the colonists.
Oh no!
Captain Angel even says that group has been known to fake life signs and stuff like that. For some reason, Pike decides to beam over when that's not something he would normally do. Mm-hmm. I presume we're intended to understand that Captain Angel's prior remark about Starfleet calling him a Boy Scout was psychological manipulation that would drive him to go on the away mission so that he would be out of the picture when the boarding party came on board.
Well, that's a long walk right there.
It is a long walk, but it seems like
I never got the impression he was a Boy Scout. Remember, he used to have that big old beard, and he didn't want to join Starfleet.
No, he isn't. But he's
they
sensitive about seem like so.
But Una said it was in his file. Like they were all fucking with him about it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Why I'm confused because they.
You're saying it was psychological manipulation to get him to make the move. I'm just wondering if that's actually his if that's actually on record.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's evidence that that's what they seem to want to be saying, but that sounds ludicrous unless the goal is to set Captain Angel, who's a character I like and I'm happy for the implication that we will see them again. But the Boy Scout thing is like, it seemed to be because they needed a reason for Pike to be going on this mission. Why would Pike be going on this mission? You could say, oh, he wants to pay more attention because of what happened last week with the dead child.
Yeah.
So he's more about like, I got to save those colonists myself. But I don't know. It seemed like that the Boy Scout thing was intended to be stated, whether on purpose or otherwise, to, whether it was a narrative device or actually Captain Angel manipulating him.
I think
I just don't know.
Yeah, so I'm suggesting that it was a narrative device, and part of the reason I'm suggesting that is because Captain Pike is not historically known as a Boy Scout.
I agree. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, so that's why
I didn't know he was sensitive about these things.
Yeah, right. That's why I'd never put that together for him. So unless it was a crazy ruse by Captain Angel to
is it because he rides a horse and then like Boy Scouts don't ride horses?
Boy Scouts.
Do Boy Scouts ride horses?
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Sometimes
they go out to
sometimes.
I've never been
Philmont
to Boy
or
Scouts.
whatever.
Philmont.
Big Boy Scout camps.
So, but then again, though, you're also right. Like, it's even if it was a narrative
You're
device,
also right.
So the plan was get some proportion of the crew to beam over.
Right.
Ideally important people. Then, but like not all the crew beams over, and then boarding crew beams over at the same time, and they start attacking things. They take over the ship.
Okay, I was just right.
That part eluded
and
me.
I want to say, even if it was, which I think is the more likely of those two scenarios presented, I think it's more likely it was a narrative device. But even if it was, it is still a long walk to plant that idea in the audience's head that that's going to motivate him to want to be like leave the ship like a naughty boy or something.
Didn't it look like Una
either way, it was
kind of
weird.
Una was going to be in the wave party, but
normally
then all of a sudden she was back on the ship.
Well, that's the thing is normally she would be. And I think that's why she was like, he was like, you stay here, I'm going. Because normally Una is sort of Captain Riker style. It's like, no, first officer goes down. Captain doesn't go milling about on the planet like what is he, Captain Kirk? Come on.
Unless he's got his ninja gear on.
Exactly. You gotta wear with the color coded chest plates. Look pretty cool.
Yeah.
It just that confused me a little bit. It ultimately didn't really impact my enjoyment of the episode because this is one of those episodes where it's like, all right, this is meant to be a little ridiculous, and they're gonna have the fun intellectual stuff plopped in there here and there, but they're also gonna have an Irish Orion.
Yeah,
that's one of the with a big old red bushy beard.
That's racist.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have
that guy was a real joker.
Well, we had an Irish Romulan on Picard, and now an Irish
she wasn't.
Orion.
She wasn't green.
But she was a Romulan.
And he needed the codes. He asked like 3 times for the codes. They always need the codes to things.
Yeah.
People always need like what are the codes?
Is that a stereotype about the Irish?
No.
Maybe about the Orions are just jerks.
No. Just like that's what you want when you take over something. You want to get the codes so you can like shoot the bomb or whatever. Yeah. And there was a Family Guy thing about it too.
Well, and of course the whole mutiny thing gets a little confusing too because he's not the captain. He's pretending to be the captain.
That was also unclear too because we're led to believe he's the captain, and then we find out that Angel is the captain. But then you're like, well, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, why is he assigned to be captain?
I guess maybe he's the first officer or something.
But I think maybe he's just the cook.
The other, right. He with that weird spinach and artichoke dip he put on like Pike's face.
He like was splattered it on Pike's face.
He like flung it on there.
Spinach and artichoke.
It was gross. It was some kind of nasty.
You've done it again.
I've done it again. Captain Angel, apparently, she said she was the captain. And looking back on the second run through... I'm sorry. It should have been suspicious that Captain Angel was a bad person.
Yeah.
Because...
They're a bad person.
Because they were like, don't fuck with these people. These people will Spock. They were like, these people will fuck you up.
Yeah.
They'll kill you. They fucking
And then
killed
they
my
were
husband.
like, get in the escape pods and get the hell out of here.
They were like, better be careful. They're really dangerous. You don't fuck with these
that's
people.
not Starfleet.
But
man.
but then it cut back to this ragged crew of the Orion and Company, and they were all kind of like,
and those dudes that came on the Enterprise were super space scum too. That one dude was super.
But they were
dirty.
hilarious
But
space scum.
okay,
They
the
were all
point-
like,
totally
They were all like
hilarious.
Pirates of the Caribbean style, bumbling.
The
and
point
shit.
I'm making,
Yeah.
right. But Patrick, the point I'm making is Remy's all bumbling, and his crew is falling. The Captain Pike's playing him like a fiddle, doing the whole. Captain's like, "You're smart." Your crew talks back to you, and then he's like to the crew, he's like, "You guys deserve better. You guys deserve better." That captain thinks they know everything, and so he played them. He did that whole gag, and so they're falling for this gag. Meanwhile, Angel's like they're a crack group. What is that word?
Yeah, the A-team.
They're the A-team. They're the best. They're gonna kill you. You better watch out.
The B-team, the pirate team.
Don't do bad stuff because they'll get you because they're super pirates. But they're really bumming. So that should have been the first clue that something was amiss in retrospect. Because when Captain Angel was saying that stuff, it's like, these guys don't seem like they're that dangerous. But then when Angel was super treacherous, then you're like, oh shit.
So this episode has a lot of kind of somewhat almost bizarre and rapid tonal shifts. And there's sort of a tonal shift between the first half of the episode that's a little bit more serious and in-depth, and then switches to a comedy of errors on both sides, right? On both ends of the plot line.
Tonal shifts are weird because a lot of times they don't work, but sometimes they can be super effective.
Yeah.
When you have a comedy that's also really dark, that can be really effective. But I know that's not what you're saying.
Well,
I just think it's always interesting, the idea
honestly,
of toning.
I think that I'm not going to say that this was brilliant, the use of tonal shifts here, but it worked fine for me because, again, it was one of those episodes where it was like, we're just doing a Star Trek episode. We're just gonna splat some stuff out there. You're gonna have to just put up with some of it and enjoy the stuff that's the good parts.
When Captain Angel turned heel, that totally shifted vibes
and became
obviously.
a campy villain character.
Yes, it did, and it was jarring. It was jarring. I was like, "Whoa, what's?" My brain was a little confused.
A lot of people on the internet not super happy with that part.
Yeah.
At first I was like, "Whoa, what the hell is going on here?" But then I was thinking about it, and people on the internet were, in the capital I internet, were talking about Mirror Kira Nerys.
I was thinking exactly about
Garrick is pretty fucking campy. He's like the definition of campy, evil in a lot of ways.
I was thinking Kieran Mirror Kieran Nerys. I was thinking exactly that. Like,
and we that she's a beloved character.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse James Keitel clearly did a great job in that front half. When especially that conversation with Spock. It was like this really riveting, interesting conversation. So
they were doing some kind of. They were talking about club hopping. They were doing some kind of. Were they dancing back there when they were playing that rave music? Were they back there as Doctor?
Yeah.
Or Doctor Captain Angel? Were they like dancing? Or what kind of workout?
Club out.
Club hopping.
They said they were clubbing out.
I want you to make if you got time sometime, Dan, you should make some like Star Trek style future beat like workout music, like club dancing workout music, but future style.
Future style.
Yeah, it's gonna be all like mega future style.
I love future when you go to sci-fi stuff and you see the future bar and they play future music. They use the term they use is club hop.
Club hop.
Dr.
Club Hop.
Dr. Club Hop.
Is that what they say? Club hop?
Captain Angel says, I used to club hop during my academy
hop.
day. Yeah, club hop.
I thought
was wondering.
they said club out.
Yeah, hopping from
Club
club to
out.
club.
I thought they
Club
was
out.
a future jargon, man.
Well,
Future jargon.
anyways, I didn't know what they
Star
were.
Trek,
what were
man.
they doing?
Star Trek.
They were exercising. I'm guessing they were I
Club
want to know
hop
what were they
was-
doing? What was Captain Angel doing behind closed doors?
Exercising.
But what kind of exercise? Why was it playing that
Some
rave
kind of
music?
dance.
It's sort of
Do you think-
aerobic exercise.
There was dancing.
Do you think they were dancing?
I don't know.
I bet there was a beat to it
They
because
got-
there was a
they
beat
got
to the
no butt
music.
at all.
It's funny watching. It's funny watching Spock go up to a door and it's all thudding bass. That's funny.
That is funny.
And Spock is all like
The juxtaposition.
exactly.
the jux-
exactly.
the ju-
Juxtapositions are often funny.
The juxtaposition.
Yes. All right. How about this for a juxtaposition?
The juxtaposition.
How about this? Let's take a quick break.
New movie from Paramount Pictures.
The juxtaposition.
Wait, did you say the
What is
juxtaposition?
this
The
movie?
Justin position. The Justin position.
All right.
The
we're-
juxtaposition.
Okay. Okay.
Rated R.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back.
Coming to a streaming platform near you.
No, you held on to that one for a very long time.
The juxtaposition.
The whole break.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
It was exploding.
Let's
It
talk
takes
about
a lot of concentration.
Let's talk about Mr. Spock. Let's talk about Mr. Spock.
Mr. Spock, Mr. Spock.
He's a character we know a lot
Spock.
about, especially if you watched a lot of Star Trek, but we're learning more bits and pieces about what makes Spock tick.
What
Spock
makes Spock tick? Wait, what was it? They were talking about Spock was all warning against going into the place. He was like, if we lose our space buoys, we'll be cut off from our space buoys, like relays for the subspace relays.
Yeah.
So you got subspace relays, and then those subspace relays have relays have space buoys.
It was back in the day, so
Look,
they were. That was like the frontier. And
But I just didn't know what space
This whole-
what the
this whole
space
business,
buoys did.
This whole
though.
business was ludicrous, and not in a bad way. It was, what I mean to say is, you know how we've discussed and others have discussed how they've clearly decided with regard to star dates in Strange New Worlds to make them purposefully and hilariously arbitrary.
Yeah.
Just like they were on TOS.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the other thing they are doing that is similar to TOS is to just randomly have like, oh, we can't contact Starfleet. It'll take 2 days for a message to get there.
Right.
Oh, but we can have just a normal conversation with T'Pring.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the good and honorable and worthy Star Trek nerd out there will justify this by saying, but T'Pring was on a colony, on a moon, on a
Like, she's
prison
got
colony,
Vulcan
on a
technology.
moon. That moon could be very far away from Vulcan and very close to where the Enterprise is. Yes, indeed it could be, but it's still a little silly to have. It takes 2 days, and then here's just a standard
Maybe
old Zoom conversation.
Vulcans are holding out on technology like they always do.
They even pointed out Pike even pointed out one thing that is still ridiculous is the concept that these pirates are going to sell the Enterprise on the black market.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's like, they're going to chase you down. But I mean, we don't know what, I know we're moving on to Spock, but Captain Angel, we don't know that their motivation was. We don't know what they were trying to, was Captain Angel. Oh no, Captain Angel was trying to trade for
Cybok.
Yeah,
so we know that much.
So, but then the whole thing about Remy wanting to sell them to the Klingons who still haven't made it.
Extra, I guess.
That's funny. The Klingons, they don't show the Klingons, but they're talking more about them now. So the
Yeah.
Klingons are gonna make. They're trying to
Well, that
ease
was
them
Discovery.
back. Well,
Also on Strange New Worlds, they haven't shown them yet. They
Well,
haven't shown the Klingons yet, so it's a
So I think-
it's been a long time
think-
since we've seen
I-
a Klingon
I
in a
think-
live action Star Trek.
I have no negative judgment. I have no negative judgment about the Klingons in Discovery. I didn't, but I know that a lot of people probably did. And I'm wondering if they're just separating themselves and trying to ease back into it again, sort of
into
sneak back in.
Probably,
I don't know.
yeah.
If they really had balls, to use an outdated term, but if they had balls,
They'd have 4 of them because they're Klingons.
They had balls.
They would, if they had Klingon balls.
Who said they had 4 balls?
The producers of Strange New Worlds, when the Klingons show up, they would be TOS style, smooth-headed Klingons.
Yeah, that would
straight
be
up
awesome. 'Cause,
people
right,
with goatees on.
Because that would be
slight change.
that would be canon, right? Because wasn't Worf had that episode where it was Worf in the DS9 episode
No,
where
that
he
was
went
about-
back
that was
to
about-
TOS,
that
we
was-
did that one.
and he was like, "Oh yeah, something happened."
But
and
then
that's why
on
the
Enterprise, they actually explain how that happened.
Okay.
And I won't go into details to avoid spoilers, but I will say that Enterprise does make an attempt at least partially explaining exactly what's going on.
So we know that the motivation of Captain Angel was to trade for Zavarius, aka Cybok. But then what was this Remy talking about selling to?
By the way, just from an objective viewpoint, these sentences are hilarious. It's one of my favorite reasons, favorite reasons to discuss Star Trek. And genre fiction in general
is these ridiculous?
Yes, I'm sorry.
sentences.
Maybe
No,
start again if you wouldn't mind, because I quite enjoyed that.
So Remy, the captain, not captain. We don't know Remy's position. Who was the Orion captain?
Do you think they named Remy after Remy the rat in Ratatouille?
I think they named it after Remy from Higher Learning.
Okay, see, that might make more sense because Remy the rat in Ratatouille was a good chef.
Remy the rat.
Oh, whoa,
and it would be like a
that's
weird thing to apply that name.
But he did cook. Maybe they were being ironical.
Remy the rat.
Look, okay, so Remy was
He was Remy and Zach Braff were what? What was so you had Zach Braff?
Zach Braff. Why are you talking about Zach Braff? Why are you talking about sex?
I was just trying to repeat what you were saying before.
Captain Angel wanted to get Zavarius, a.k.a. Cybok, back from the prison camp.
Got it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Remy, who's the acting captain, but we don't know what his true we don't know what his true position is. He's talking about selling the crew off to Vulcan, to Klingons, and selling the Enterprise on the black market, which is an absurd proposition.
Yeah.
Like the Enterprise, maybe for scrap.
I'm going to go sell an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, right. Maybe you could do it for scrap.
Scrap,
but
you could maybe
even then,
do.
it would be you'd have there'd be signatures that
Who's
you could
gonna buy
recognize.
it?
The signatures.
Like, literal signatures on that little plate.
Oh, yeah, the burn, on the burn
on
plate.
the episode that we learned.
The brown is the part of the meat that you smoke that's just sugar and burntness. It's the brown.
It's called the brown, but
I think so.
as opposed to the burn, but not the burn from Star Trek Discovery.
No,
season
not
3.
Michael
No, it's
Burnham.
called
Not
some,
Michael
it's not
Burnham.
the burn. They call
That
it something
too.
else.
Okay, so the point being
It's called
is
like the
what was
the scar, the scorch,
The scorch.
the scorch.
what was the point? What was the whole Remy's point of selling the Enterprise and selling slaves? Because clearly, Captain.
What's the point of
It
anything?
was just a
really, when you think of it?
side profit.
But
man.
Captain Angel wasn't interested in any of that.
Side action.
Captain
Side
Angel.
action.
They didn't seem to be.
So was Remy just really ambitious and was like, okay, we're going to be set up as decoys so Captain Angel can do their thing. We're going to be set up as decoys, but while I'm here, I might as well sell some people off as slaves and capture the Enterprise and sell
It's a
it.
pirate mentality.
If
Or do
you
you think Captain Angel was in on that deal too, though? Do you think Captain Angel was trying to get back their husband and do all this other crazy shit, or do you think that was all Remy's idea?
If you ask me, if we follow the
I
pattern,
don't think too much of it was Remy's idea.
if we follow the pattern of what the writers have been doing, their deep knowledge of Star Trek, their deep love of Star Trek, and the clear respect and care for the fans, I think there's a strong possibility that this episode was written just very cleverly and carefully crafted to both aggravate and delight the fan. Just aggravate the hell out of us because this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Subspace relays, what? But at the same time, just having so much fun in it. So much excellent fucking stuff. Like there's all this Spock character development. And what's fascinating about it is, and apologies for a 55-year-old spoiler, but Spock and T'Pring's relationship does not work out at the end. So this is a doomed relationship. And the producers could have been fully justified in completely ignoring this relationship because there's no reason for us to know about it necessarily in this timeline, right? But they've not only chosen to include it, but to include it as a running theme, at least through many episodes this season, with a few of them being focused on this relationship.
Did TNG have any kind of running themes like that? DS9 sort of did with Worf and Jadzia or Dax in general.
And Garrick and Bashir.
Well, that was a little different, but yeah.
Nothing. It was lovely.
I thought it was lovely too, but I mean, that's not what they. I mean, they meant that, but they didn't. Some writers meant it, others didn't.
Just talking about a couple of guys having lunch.
Some writers meant it, and the other ones were trying to hide the fact that that's what the other writers meant.
No, the other shows have had it to a degree, but what they're doing here with Strange New Worlds is, and I think we see it in the opening sequence in terms of the opening credits, where they combine the best bits and pieces from opening credits from all the other Star Trek shows. Right? They've got representations of pretty much almost every single other Star Trek show in that opening sequence, including that overhead TNG, the Enterprise looming from behind. That's what they're doing. And one of the things I think they've done well is this individual episodes. You can totally pop any of these episodes on anytime you want, out of order, in any order. If you're just feeling like this type of story,
what are you
today,
worried
you can
about?
pop it on.
Don't
But
be worried
they've
about
got that
nothing.
undercurrent of stuff going. And one of those things is this Spock to Pring relationship, which we know is doomed, and at the same time they're getting us to be all into it, which has to be narratively just to make it hurt more, make it fuck us up in the heartstrings when whatever happens to sour, it happens.
So I was thinking about how this show is going, and then I started thinking about the Obi-Wan show, and then a lot of shows. The Obi-Wan show. This is the Obi-Wan show.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is the Obi-Wan show. Tonight we have some sand people.
Yeah, right. Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
a lot of shows do this too. Is shows where we know the end, basically we know the outcome. Like with Pike, we know that's one of the conceits of the show is that Pike, they're not trying to pretend it didn't happen. They're pointing out that this happens, and then Obi-Wan, we know what
leaning into
most people know what happens by the time Star Trek: A New Hope Episode 4 or Star Wars. God,
Star Trek: A New Hope.
Jeez,
wicked bastardization.
I know. Anyways, which was not known as number 4 New Hope at the time.
This is known as Star Wars.
So anyways, point being was we know the ending. So what do you do when you know the ending? You explore like the journey more, I guess, and you get more into these characters and try to see what you can learn that's new about the character, as opposed to like what happens. At the end. It's not how it's going to end up. It's like, what have you learned about this character or whatever?
Just because you are a character doesn't mean you have character.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Keitel.
It's the character. Harvey Keitel and Jesse James Keitel is not directly related to Harvey Keitel.
Distantly related.
But they are some sort of cousins of some sort.
Really?
Yeah, but distant, they don't know each other.
Distant. Right on.
Distant.
What were you saying about characters, Patrick?
It's all about the characters.
It's all about
Doesn't matter what everything has to fall into place around the characters.
It's all
That's
about
what
the
you
Benjamins,
remember.
Except it's all about the characters.
Yes.
It's all about the Pentiums.
Yeah, Benjamin Sisko.
On that, it opened up on Ankesten Keitel Vulcan Criminal Rehabilitation Center.
What?
So
what?
Did they have a Zen sand garden there?
Yeah, man, with them big old rakes.
And
that was tight.
Was that sand native to the third moon of Omicron Lyrae?
Wow.
Or did they have to ship it in?
Yeah, I think you got to ship that.
Or they get it from Earth.
They
get it from like California.
Well, on planet Vulcan. Well, yeah.
I come from planet Vulcan.
They get it from California for the prop, the sand prop. But like, where do you think they get? Where do you think that Vulcan is deserty, right? Planet Vulcan.
It's a planet with nothing on it.
Yeah, so maybe they just ship it from planet Vulcans. Ship it from planet Vulcan and put it on the moon.
Yeah, I'm just
that wizard is from the moon. That wizard is from the moon.
I'm just a little
perplexed.
I'm a little perplexed as to the importance of this.
Well, I mean, it's just they had a Zen sand
Where they
garden.
got that sand.
It was interesting that they had a Zen
and I just made me wonder if that sand was native.
Local
sand. Did you notice?
Ship that shit.
Speaking of the Obi-Wan show. Speaking of the Obi-Wan show and this show,
you're getting more Wan.
I am. But okay, you can tell that the mountains of the mountains in the background for the alien planets are some kind of fractally. You remember back in the days of BBSs, Patrick? Patrick will remember this. So every once in a while, you could download find these bits of software. They were like a few K or something, and they basically did math to create these landscapes, these mountainous landscapes.
Sort of vector
graphics. Yeah, imagine like a graphing calculator, or sine wave, or whatever, except applied 3-dimensionally, and you get these surfaces of mountains and topology and all that stuff.
Solid. Take a moment. Please imagine this.
Imagine it. Are you imagining it?
The listeners should be imagining this at the current moment.
And so, right, and it's all procedurally generated through math and stuff like that. And they were just kind of fun little demos, right? You can see the influence on that now in modern alien special effects, and of course, it's much more advanced now than it was back then. But you can see it's kind of taking a similar pattern. I remember people telling me, "Oh, video games are a waste of your time. Why are you wasting your time with that silly business? Video games are the reason we have some awesome special effects. Video games are the reason we have drone strikes." Well, I shouldn't use. Well,
I cannot wait until you are an old man. I can't wait until you, Dan, are an old man.
It won't be too long.
And the kids are sitting down there.
Games are the reason.
Like, I'm gonna go talk to Uncle Dan. He's gonna tell me the story. He's gonna scream at me that video games were like. Back in my day,
you got drone strikes.
We had to use our hands.
They told me it was a waste of time. Bah!
TurboGrafx 16 wasn't actually 16-bit.
So, okay, when I brought up drone strikes, I didn't mean it because, wow, great, drone strikes. But what I mean is the same people who say that video games are a waste of time are using the technology of video games to do their shit.
Okay. No, I wholeheartedly support this
Surgical
sentiment.
murdering.
I'm unclear as to how we got from there to here.
Because getting from there to here.
no.
It's been a long. No, because
It
I was
was a
talking
long
about
road.
I was talking about the procedurally generated topology of the third moon of Omicron Lyrae.
I got you. Okay.
And it was based upon the BBS like little fun little software games
All
and the stuff. And
Word.
remember Scorched Earth? That had procedurally
Yes.
generated levels,
Scorched Earth
which was also based on a game Howitzer that I played
bit
on
of
the Apple II Plus. Scorched Earth was a post-decessor of. Okay, yeah. Anyway, back.
You have thoroughly demonstrated your 8-bit bona fides. Or bona fides, if you prefer.
And your skill at coming up with new words.
Yes.
My wire is caught in my leg.
Okay, all right. So you're good on the video game front.
Okay.
You're having a little trouble with being a human being. Tangled up in your own wires. All right. Back to your regularly scheduled Star Trek. Spock and his relationship with T'Pring. Anyway, all right.
Yes.
That's cool.
Spock.
It's going to be very interesting to watch them sort of thread the needle here to make us like this relationship and enjoy this relationship at the same time as many of us, most of us, I mean, and now anybody listening to this knows that it's doomed to fail. So how is it going to be doomed to fail? It's sort of like watching Breaking Bad or something like that, where you're like, or like it's like what's the process in terms of, we kind of know where it's going to end up, but what's that process?
Right.
Because T'Pring basically wants to kill Spock, or at least even if she doesn't want to, she's fine with him getting killed by the time we see her in TOS, right? So that's pretty serious. This is not just like, oh, they break up. It's like some serious shit goes down between these two to get to that point. And the same thing's going on with the chapel business, right? Because again, we know it's not spoilers to say that Spock and Chapel don't like get married and live for 100 years together.
As a side note, it's interesting that
as far as we
it's
know.
interesting that you don't call this spoilers, but you call the one about there was an Enterprise episode, no, or DS9. There was like a DS9 or Enterprise episode where you said you weren't
Probably
gonna give away-
Enterprise.
You were saying you would consider that a spoiler, but not this.
I think it's a combination. It's a good point, but I think it's a combination of time and likelihood of like being included in the lore. Like, I think if you know about Spock and you watch a bunch of Star Trek, if you've seen like Star Trek 6 or something like that, you kind of know what his deal is. If you saw
Star Trek
Unification
6 or something.
1 or 2, right? You know, like, but you're right. I guess it could be a spoiler, but I don't know. It's just, again, like in TOS, we know what the deal was in TOS, and that's like,
right.
core of Star Trek 60
It
years
is core.
It is, yeah. It's a tricky debate, though.
It's like when somebody watches a
point.
docu-series on something and then someone's like, "Oh, you saw the docu-series on that person. It's weird they didn't actually kill the person." And it's like, is that a spoiler? It's like, no, it was in the news, you know?
Yeah, it's or like the joke when the Titanic came out, and of course the gag was everyone like going around like to the massive line of people waiting for the next showing, being like, the ship sinks at the end, to see if somebody would be like, "Oh man,
Oh man,
you spoiled the movie."
Oh, apples.
Yeah, and it's the other point that you raise, vertently or inadvertently, is that
Why is apples a cuss word?
is that
Apples are good.
when you've got a show like Strange New Worlds that is so good at embedding
Embedding?
itself,
Embiggening?
It's getting embedded out.
in squishing
Embedded it
itself into the Star Trek canon, into that little slot right before Kirk and TOS era and all that, but having
TOS
influence,
era.
and it has influences not from just TOS, but from TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. It's pulling in stuff from all around, right? And so it's incorporating all that lore in its world building. So there's this tension between, you can come right into this show and watch it not having watched any other Star Trek, and I think you can enjoy it quite a bit. On the other hand, there's so many layers in there that they've put in, particularly with some of the characters like Spock and Uhura in particular, that we're learning more about these characters that we've known for a long time if we've watched TOS and the movies and TNG, et cetera. We learn more about these things. So it can be a tricky thing when it comes to the, sort of the, how do you discuss it? How do you critique it? How do you make clever points about it?
I mean, it's true.
How much information do you reveal or not reveal?
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point about how you have all this lore that all ties together, and like, how do you know when you're discussing the general lore and when you're discussing a particular
like with
episode?
the Enterprise thing with the Klingons, like not wanting to go into details, is that it's totally irrelevant for the story we've we've heard thus far on it was just like, oh, would it be interesting? They could do that. That would be a justification for it. So it's not quite the same thing as a spoiler.
And it was also used as like a funny bit where they were like, oh,
yeah, in Deep Space Nine,
it's good news that they're going to sell us to the Klingon.
Yeah.
Are you sure his head's okay?
Chapel was saying to Spock, she goes, lying isn't your strong suit. You're an honest man. But he was lying. Vulcans can't lie, but Spock is half human, as we've pointed out to the audience.
Vulcans can lie.
And so,
first of all, Vulcans can lie.
Yes,
totally
they
can.
Yeah, I know.
He is
Okay,
half,
they
yeah.
totally can. Okay, so Chapel says you're an honest man. Lying isn't your strong suit, but he's totally lying. He's lying to T'Pring. He's lying to Chapel.
And I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're gonna say.
Most
Go
importantly,
ahead. Go for it.
he's lying to himself.
Yes.
He's lying to Spock.
Yes.
He's lying. Spock's lying to Spock. So he says that line, you know me well to T'Pring, when T'Pring says that, it was your human side that allowed you to allowed for that ruse, quote unquote, ruse with Chapel where you kiss Chapel.
I don't think T'Pring knows him all that well.
No, that's why I'm saying. That's why because Spock goes, you know me well, and because of course he's lying to himself and her at that point, and she's like sort of lying. Well, I don't know,
dirty dog.
and she's like, oh, it's only
He's a dirty sailor.
it's your human, and she was like, that was a ruse, but it wasn't. There was obviously there was secret sex feelings going on there. But then he says it to Chapel when Chapel was like, well, there's no feelings between us, and then Spock says again, you know me well. So those are two examples. Yeah. One where he's lying to T'Pring, one where he's lying to Chapel, and both where he's lying to himself.
Somewhat less effective on the second go round, but still good, still apt.
I was just bringing it home. Bringing it home.
Well done.
Bringing it home, baby.
Well done indeed.
Baby.
All right. So what we haven't talked a lot about yet is the whole other side of the storyline, because we've talked about Spock, we've talked about Captain Angel, talked a little bit about
like Captain
Chapel.
Pike making some stew.
Yes.
Get
so
a stew going.
the whole business on the pirates. So it was dramatic up until they got captured, and they got captured, and everyone's like, oh no, we're captured.
And then it turned into a comedy.
And then the next scene, it's this hilarious comedy, and where Pike doesn't seem
nice jawline,
remotely phased at any point. Even when he's getting the shit kicked out of him, but he's being all sexy about it.
They're totally wagging him.
And I don't want to, I said to myself, I was like, I don't want to sexually objectify Captain Pike because I want to be a good person. But then
we're only human, right?
Yes. What are you supposed to do when they've got like some people are like holding him down? He's getting like punched in the face and he's all like making quips.
Yeah.
And his hair is all floopy.
Yeah. He's making
like,
quips.
what are you fucking supposed to do with that?
I don't know. It's suggestive.
Yeah. So it's not meant to objectify. It's not meant to. It may, in fact, do that, but it's not meant to. It was a silly series of scenes, but it was
a silly series of scenes.
It was entertaining. From the moment.
Silly series of seams.
No, you can't say it. You can't.
Susan saw a silly series of scenes. Susan saw a silly series of scenes. Susan saw a silly series of scenes.
All right,
good.
Did I say it was subjective? What was I saying? Okay, I think I used the wrong word earlier. Anyways,
when Pike just looks back and is like, kitchen? That's when it turned into, this is just going to be like a increasing silliness until
they had a reasonable
the
kitchen in that place,
right?
And all sorts of spices and stuff.
And
I guess Remy didn't normally use.
Right. So and then of course the crew reacting when he was like, oh, it's an Orion specialty, and they're like, he's like, what, you don't
spinach and artibugs?
Spinach and artibooger dip.
Artiboogers.
And and he was like, what, you don't like my cooking? And they're like, oh.
It's like, no, we're not Orions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was some gruel to begin with.
Yeah, I don't think Tendi would be digging on that either. She'd want some like nacho salad or something.
Or taco salad with their shells. Yeah. I think those are the most amazing salads because they're so ridiculous, but they're so tasty.
And to use replicator technology to make them.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they don't have that. I guess they don't have good food synthesizers on this ship or whatever. So
they also have a small view screen as well. Remember that you were talking about that short trek with Harry Mudd that one time
with the Tellarite. With the very small view screen.
Yeah, and there was a small view view screen in this. This one, where at the height of comedy was when like phaser fire was whizzing by their head, and they weren't like, "Oh no!" They were like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here!"
Oh shit!
Oh no!
Oh jeepers!
So yeah, the crew the whole time was expressing issue with their quote unquote captain, because they were like that she was telling Remy's like, we're wasting our time with these people. Then they expressed displeasure with the cooking, and then when he talked about dealing with the Klingons, they looked super bummed. And then there was that time she's like, he's not the captain, and then so you kind of knew what was going on with the what was the maneuver he was doing? Wasn't he doing some maneuver?
The Alpha Braga Bungo.
Alpha Braga.
Alpha Braga 4. I guess
Alpha Braga.
Brandon Braga.
Memory
Alpha Brandon Braga.
Oh yeah, it was Alpha Braga 4, right? She's like, oh no, Chris, not Alpha Braga 4.
It seems to be a running gag with
how many times have they done Alpha Braga?
With Una being like, oh no, not this old gag. Pike being all like,
yeah, right. They've probably done this several times, and so like they're really good at it.
Oh no!
Well, it was just funny how confident he was throughout the whole thing.
Like, it works every time.
Which was sort of a silly, but in a fun way.
It was fun
because you didn't feel any tension at any point in that part of the storyline, and perhaps that was intentional to make sure not to draw attention or draw sort of emotional weight away from Spock and Captain Angel. Their initial conversations and a couple other scenes that were going on in the ship, and also not to draw attention away from Dr. Chapel or Nurse Chapel with Doctor. She's a doctor too. Nurse Chapel running around like putting everyone to sleep all violently with her.
Oh yeah, she used a hypo spray as a weapon.
She's slapping that dude in the face and being like,
and then when she was in engineering and the other two like walked in, and she all like was holding up the hypo spray like it was a phaser.
Well, when she was fighting in the corridor, it was like an Eastern. It was like that. Was it Eastern Promises, like the shower scene? She was like just like brutal, like just trying to grab it.
Rammed into that dude.
So that scene, she started with her hands up.
Tackled him.
She started with her hands up,
and then the crazy eyes.
And then did you see those tattoos on her fingers?
We've seen the tattoos briefly before, but I think this might be the best view.
Those are cool tattoos. I like those on the finger like that.
She's got another one on her wrist.
Yeah, I saw that
wrist.
too. I think it's always cool when people get tattoos on the palmish side of their hand.
Maybe we should go out and get tattoos. We can have it like say like it's got Star Trek over all of our knuckles, and then we all have to like because it's a lot of letters. So
we got to put our knuckles together.
Oh yeah, it'll make
yeah, yeah, power. Oh no, Chris. Not Alpha Braga 4. No. Oh no. Mutiny. Oh no.
Whoa.
Not Alpha Braga 4, Chris.
I do have to apologize. It as it happens, it's been one of those nights.
Dan seems to have a bit of a loose screw this evening.
One of those nights.
A loose wire, perhaps.
One of those nights.
Mutiny, Chris.
One of these days.
But then she like knocked him down and then used the hypo spray on their neck to fuck him up. I want to know what was in there.
Oh, and Spock also uses super Vulcan strength to throw that dude across the bridge and smash his head into the
super strong.
Do you think if you hypo sprayed air into someone's neck, that would just fucking kill him?
It wouldn't be great if you got an air bubble.
Yeah. It would hurt.
It wouldn't necessarily kill you, but would cause a significant pain, I believe.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. There was a brief shot of the bridge fight scene where it was like a wide shot, I think, of the bridge, and it was really quick. And I think that was this episode, but it was kind of neat. There was some cool choreography. It's like organized chaos kind of situation.
And all the pirate characters, they each looked very different. They spent a great deal of time designing extremely distinct characterizations with their costumes and all that, so that you got to be like, oh, that's that dude with the main thing they all had in common is most of them had that black eyeliner, like from the robot gal from Blade Runner.
Yeah.
The guys on Wrath of Khan are like much more like suave in comparison to these guys.
Oh yeah, they're geniuses. They're not pirates. They're all super.
You have to be a genius.
Genetically. That's a King of the Hill quote.
Yeah, that was Jeff Goldblum. Wasn't it?
That's a Jeff Goldblum joint.
There is just one catch. You have to be a genius.
We'll leave it to the audience to determine which episode that is.
Jeff Goldblum, Peggy Hill episode.
Go look it up, and it is a great episode.
Jeff Goldblum is fantastic.
All right, how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then we can wrap it all up.
Oh no!
There's going to be more of this when we get back, folks. We'll be right back. Boom, boom, boom. We're back.
Oh no!
Boom, boom, boom. That's my new thing. I'm going to say boom, boom, boom. We're back.
Boom, boom, boom. We're back.
Boom, boom, boom. We're back.
Boom, boom, boom. We're back. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have a new. We're gonna have a new segment called Pip Pip Cheerio.
Pip pip
Pip pip cheerio.
Oh, no, I don't know if I like the sound of
where
this.
we determine if the things on somebody's Star Trek collar are pips or Cheerios.
Whoa.
It's a low effort.
What?
It's a low effort improvisation.
That worked
Very
though.
low.
I mean, I put imagery
Didn't
of.
fully
Now
work.
I'm thinking
It's
about
like a thing about like street corn or whatever.
It relies a little too heavily on imagination.
A street corn named Desire.
Yes, there was that that joke in Lower Decks where the misuse of the traditional Star Trek costume or misapplication of pips was explained away in canon as the occasional kernel of corn having gotten caught on somebody's uniform.
When you were speaking of.
Yes, I'm ready.
Speaking of no, you were talking about Cheerios and how it was low effort. Now I'm thinking about like Captain Picard with Cheerios all over his uniform, and it's silly. I got that imagery in my head.
Silly
now.
and absurd.
It's silly to think about.
If you're in a mood to appreciate the silly and the absurd, that joke will work for you.
So
For the vast majority of our audience who are toiling away at work. Or
so what was his
chores
name?
Around the house, mowing the lawn.
Something Andy Quaid. Who plays
Randy Quaid?
Boimler in.
Oh no, that's one of the Quaid children.
Who plays Boimler?
Yes, it's Dennis Quaid's child.
Johnny Quaid.
Johnny Quaid.
Henry Quaid.
I have to figure this out. Jack Quaid.
Yes, Jack Quaid.
So he was also.
I was getting there.
He was also in.
Did you say Kenny Quaid?
No,
Kenny Quaid.
I didn't
He
get
was.
to Kenny.
He was also in The Boys. He's in The
Yes,
Boys.
He's in The Boys.
And I was rewatching some old episodes, and there's one where Maeve is hanging by Homelander talking to some TV a media event thing, and you can totally hear her. I think she's also. Where is she from? She's from somewhere.
Australia?
Something.
All right.
Is she Irish or? I don't.
Explain
You could hear her
the
accent.
relevance
What are you getting at, man?
to our conversation.
Because it made me think of Nurse Chapel is Australian. The
She
actor's
is,
playing
that's right.
Australian.
Actor is,
Yeah, and then I was thinking,
Australian.
and then I was making just like random No, I was making sort of random connections
Oh no!
that I learned I used to think was clever, but you're really supposed to keep those inside because nobody thinks you're clever for just making random associations.
With the random
but-
associations.
Yeah, it's not. That's not that
think you're
clever.
clever.
No,
Well,
you
thanks.
can have
Clever.
good and bad
I
days.
think it's kind of like it's good. It's got you good and bad. I think it's like telling relaying your dreams. Like it better be a good fucking dream if you're gonna start telling people
I
about your
agree.
dream.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like
I know.
nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah, it's not.
And especially if you forget the dream halfway through, because I
You're like,
usually,
"Oh, wait a
I
minute,
usually
what
am,
is that?"
because the dreams spill out of your mind. All right.
Spill out of your mind.
Speaking of dreams, let's talk about the Star Trek episode where we have a few remaining things to discuss.
Wrap it
If
up.
I recall correctly, one thing, for example, is Hammerwatch 2022. He's
Still not.
not
Oh
in the
wow,
episode,
you're right.
right? So what's that been, like 3 episodes or something?
Is
he's
he?
not in?
Is he on like?
He's in the preview for the next episode.
Is it because he got injured and he still hasn't recuperated?
Well, I can't remember who wrote this, but somebody on Twitter suggested that this might be an example of more realistic periods of healing for people on Star Trek. Instead of resetting to the next episode, we see the ship having to get fixed. That's cool, but also Hammer hurt his hand, so maybe he's just out of commission, as you say. And
So this is hammer hand.
Kirk, Lieutenant
It's
Kirk,
hammer
the
time.
anthropologist.
Hammer hurt his hammer hand.
Remember, there was a few episodes between when we saw him, and he almost died. So it would make sense to not see him the following episode, right? So it might be something they're building into the show a little bit. It also could simply be they were filming during COVID,
Yeah.
and there were actor it was complicated to have actors available and the number of people you could have
I
on
mean,
set. That
if
sort
they
of thing.
wanted to bring him back next week, they would just have a bandage on his hand, and if they wanted to even address it
Sure,
at all. you know?
exactly.
Oh, by the way, the actor who played Queen Maeve on The Boys is Irish,
All right.
and Dr. Nurse Chapel, the actor, is
Australia.
Australian. What's her name? Oh, now I need to know her name.
So no Hammer, but the other person missing this week was Uhura.
Yeah.
Oh
right. I was
yeah,
gonna say
where's
that.
Uhura?
No Uhura this week.
She's on a her holiday.
Yeah.
I was digging on. I can't wait till we get an Ortega's focused episode.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Because I like that scene where she was all, using the manual override and flying through it. And I liked how the asteroids are all bouncing off the shield, like dunk, dunk.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Cool.
But yeah, she's totally like being smart and being like jokey and
The whole
fun.
first date, third date, blind date business.
And but then you can tell she's really into like the drive. She's like in the zone when she's flying that plane, and Pike's all digging it. He's like, oh, right on, like,
Yeah.
like they have fun. They have fun.
Totally.
So Ortega, I just like every time I see Ortega's, I like her more and more.
Yes. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Ortega.
Not that I like others less and less. It's just I don't know.
Son
It's
of a
making
bitch.
me want them
She gets good
to have more
lines.
episodes with her.
Yeah. Well, they've only got 10 episodes per season, so you got to space some of this.
We're running out of episodes.
space
What
some
was
of
this,
this
number
business
7?
This was number 7. Yeah.
7.
Number 7.
Jess Bush. That's the name
her name.
of Nurse
Yes.
Chapel. The burner plays Nurse
Jess
Chapel.
Bush.
Jess Bush.
Zippers.
What?
Zippers.
What?
Captain Angel,
What?
in their role as Dr. Aspen, wore some sort of outfit that had a
Oh.
tremendous number of zippers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got all zippers all over the place. It's one of those crazy outfits with a bunch of zippers in it.
I remember reading
But in the future,
in the future, zippers are speaking. Actually, I was just about to bring up Jolene Blaylock, who
Somebody's
played
using
to
zippers.
Paul.
yes.
And speaking of
To
zippers,
Paul.
Jolene Blaylock, as we know, there was introduced Velcro into the world or whatever.
Yes.
And so Velcro
She traveled back in time
Velcro-
and invented Velcro.
invented Velcro. Velcro is like the substance of the future. It's the material. It's got so much utility. Are zippers as valuable as? Do they still have zippers in the future, or is it all Velcro?
We know they have zippers in the future because
Of
Captain Angel was wearing-
Angel.
she's fucking covered in.
Well,
they were covered in zippers.
But do they have them by the 24th century? They've got them in the 23rd century. Perhaps it's a.
They got zippers on their uniforms, and they're weirdly in the back for the first few seasons.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how the hell do you get dressed in the morning if the zipper's in the back?
So that brings me back to Jolene Blaylock. I was reading some article like over a 10, 15 years ago or whatever, and she was talking about how it sucked to have to go to the bathroom with that thing on because like the zipper was in a really weird
It was
place.
not designed for a woman's comfort.
Yeah, and not only unzipping it, but just the whole process apparently was not. So, but yeah, that goes back to zippers. Like, how do you dress yourself with that stuff? I don't know.
Well, a lot of these zippers appeared to be
Don't get caught in that zipper.
largely ornamental, but some of them appeared to be functional. Although if they had zipped them all the way up, I think it would have gone up above the bridge of their nose. Yes,
That would have been something.
it would have been
They
something.
had a pointy nose.
You know what else is something? This is the first time I believe we get to see a Jeffries tube on the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds. And it's all cool. It's all old school looking Jeffries tube.
Because Chapel is crawling up.
Chapel crawls up, and then Spock and Captain Angel crawl
I'm
up.
glad Jeffrey tubes have made it through like all. If there's one consistent
Jeffries.
throughout Star Trek, it's
Yeah.
Jeffrey's tubes.
I think, and not just Star Trek. I think the U.S. military started calling their equivalent sort of things Jeffries tubes on like Navy ships and stuff like that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I could have just made that shit up.
I mean, I imagine people.
Don't learn facts from podcasts, kids.
But I mean, I can imagine people doing it.
Don't listen to podcast people, kids.
I can imagine people.
It's all made up.
I can imagine people just doing it for fun
The
and then
Navy.
it catching
There's no
on.
such thing
Made
as
up.
there's no such thing as true crime.
There's no such thing as the Navy.
There's no true crime podcast. It's all made up.
All false crime.
Yeah.
You ever notice how those Star Trek doors are always whooshing open?
Yeah.
If you look at the closed caption, if the closed caption always says doors whooshing.
Yeah.
Never whooshing intensifies.
Pretty tight.
Yeah, they're always
Yeah,
whooshing.
Whooshing.
they'll have like whooshing intensifiers.
Whooshing
Yeah.
intensifies.
That's like a common thing.
Whooshy
Things are
show.
always intensifying.
Important note, a very minor note, but to Pring, when we see her on that moon that I can't recall how to pronounce.
It's Omicron Lyrae.
Lyrae.
Oh, Omicron, Lyrae.
Larway.
Lyrae?
Liralai.
The Lorelei signal. T'Pring appears to have sort of an assistant fellow.
Oh, his name is
Ston.
Ston.
And Ston.
It's like South Park. Ston.
Isn't it pronounced Stan?
Ston is involved in A Mock Time, the TOS episode in which we see T'Pring, and we're originally introduced to T'Pring and Spock and stuff, and he's closely involved in that storyline. So they're giving us a Ston character, and the actor kind of looks like the original actor a little bit, not 100%. But the main thing is they gave him these the weird brush to the right bangs. Take a look.
It's in our book. Jordy
Reading
LaFoe.
Rainbow. Look at his hair. Look at Ston's hair. Ston is the Vulcan fella who's walking around with T'Pring, and his hair is a little different than the other Vulcans, which was the same with Ston in the TOS episode. Podcasting.
I agree.
Podcasting. All right. So anyway, that's look it up. People in the if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But if you get it, you get it. That's just
you can't win it if you're not in it.
Yeah, precisely. All sorts of don't mess with Texas.
If you mess with us, you mess with the best.
Yeah.
Is that a slogan from someplace?
Isn't that from
it's a song someone wrote?
But isn't it also like if you mess with? Isn't that something from that Scarface movie too, or something?
Scarface, the one with the cocaine.
Is there something where he's like, if you mess with me, you mess with the best, or something like?
Maybe.
But
the main thing I remember from Scarface is when that one character, is all like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Yeah. It's my favorite. Fuck you in all of cinema.
Did you notice the Serene Squall had a big weird boat wheel that they?
Yeah,
that was the weirdest.
Biggest, of course
weirdest
I noticed
boat
that.
wheel.
Well, it was the pirate movie. It was a fucking pirate show, so they had to have a pirate wheel, like a ship wheel,
like a 2-dimensional ship wheel.
And the best part,
but also it looked weird as fuck too. It didn't just look like this big can or something. I don't know.
The best part about that whole thing was when Pike was doing it. He was even doing what you always see the captains do in those pirate movies, where they're just randomly wiggling it back and forth. They're just all like, "Oh, I'm just wiggling a little extra."
Yeah, right.
The bridge was quite small. It was smaller than the bridge of a normal seaworthy.
It was surrounded by looked like a cargo net or something weird. I couldn't tell what was going on. There was some chaos going around them, all around them.
Yeah, they still had the mutiny.
But then they had their bridge was separately spaced off. I don't know. I didn't understand. Some kind of mesh thing. I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, some cockpit. It was like a big cockpit.
It was
like cockpit. It's like a giant cockpit.
Yeah. And of course the visual gag
wasn't that giant.
I had cocktails in the cockpit.
The visual gag of visual gag of the mutiny. Okay, the reason why I'm having I'm having difficulty forming this sentence because it's another example of that aggravating while delighting you, because this scene plays out that Pike is talking to the Spock on the Enterprise, and everything is in order. He's wiggling the wheel back and forth, and they resolve the thing. Blah 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 blah. And then the punchline to the joke is all of a sudden there's laser beams and fighting and people climbing up the outside.
Yeah, right.
So could you help us out? Because it's got
I know, right?
Andy, it's getting crazy in here.
It's gotten away from us.
Now here's the thing.
I know what you're talking about.
That doesn't make any sense for that to happen in that way. I know, yes, of course, you can find a brain way to make it, but it just sort of doesn't make any sense.
If you're in a mutiny, like if you take over the bridge, doesn't that mean you win?
Yeah, but then like the reason it doesn't matter, the aggravation is it doesn't make sense, but then the delight is it's just so funny.
It is funny. There's all this chaos going around. And people climbing the walls.
Yes, exactly. And again, they have such unique designs so that they all look distinct. And it was such a visually entertaining thing. Mm-hmm. And you think, okay, that was the joke for the That was the joke for the whole episode. That's the cream of the crop. That's your hat on a hat.
What are you, a musical? What's going on here?
You got trouble right here in River City. But then they give us. That's you think that's the joke? You think that's going to be the main? At the end,
Yeah, I thought
thing.
it was going to be that.
You thought it was going to be the main thing,
Mm-hmm.
but then they give us Pike doing a pirate voice,
Oh, yeah.
and making a pirate face, and doing a pirate chair thing.
Yeah, that was so overwhelmingly silly. I thought I had to laugh at that. It was just
You got Rebecca Romaine, and note I say Rebecca Romaine and not Una, trying desperately not to laugh,
Right.
because that was not acting.
Yeah.
That was she's a brilliant actor, but that was Anson Mount making her laugh, and she was trying not to laugh.
stop that.
Get through the scene, and it was great.
It was so like
It was sincere. That's what it was. Anson Mount, he meant that.
yeah, that
He loved that.
when he did that was so out of nowhere, and it was so caught me off. It disarmed me, and I was like,
Yes.
"What the fuck's going on?" And then I was like, "That was crazy."
Yes.
it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
It was
because I
pretty
thought they
funny.
didn't talk about pirates in Starfleet. Because
It's like how
they're
they
always like, it's always just one eye. It's not two eye. You never say eye because it's like, hey, we're not pirates.
All right. So it's not like how zombie movies don't talk about zombies. It's something different.
Right. It's just
Yeah, it's not two eyes.
there's
It's just one
there's
eye.
some sort of pirate moratorium.
Pirate moratorium. Yeah, I thought that was he really went all in on that impression.
Yes.
So
It was great.
and she did look like she was
Space Dad.
yeah, I was thinking that she did look like she was holding back laughter right there, and it wasn't acting. It was real.
Acting.
It's real.
It's real.
It's a fake.
This is not funny. I don't even know why I'm repeating it, because it was funny to me.
Come
but,
on.
Why
are you repeating that?
When Spock and Chapel do the kiss thing, and Spock's all like talking about like, I'm giving into my human side. I cannot deny the emotions with me any longer, and he's talking to Chapel about to kiss her. And then T'Pring goes, Spock, you are failing to communicate effectively.
Yeah, that was great.
I don't know why that was so funny, but you are
yeah.
failing to communicate
It
effectively.
was one of the great sentences in the
Yeah.
show.
And one of the bittersweet things about this relationship is how charming they are together. T'Pring and Spock are really
You're failing to communicate
great.
effectively.
Yeah. Their interplay, the whole business. We didn't even talk about.
We think about a scene like that. Normally someone would be like, "Talk to me. You never
Yeah.
talk to me anymore." It's like, what do you mean? Why you shut yourself off? You're failing to communicate effectively.
We didn't even talk about the whole initial, also funny scene where she's exploring human sexuality and reading all
Oh,
these
right.
books from the 20th century
Spock
and
almost
21st
does.
century.
He doesn't do a spit take. He does a spit choke. One of those.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What are they doing that's different from
That's what I want to know.
humans?
I think that's the audience's imagination is meant to be piqued.
Vulcans having sex is kind of weird.
Why? Why would you say such a thing?
Do they just like stand up and shake hands or something?
No, they got they do mind brain finger business.
It's hard to think about ecstasy as separated from emotion. I know they don't really separate themselves from emotion, but that's what they're shooting for.
Maybe that's where they let themselves get a little. But anyway, it was a funny scene, so we should acknowledge that as well.
Yes, it
and
was.
again, it goes into that that fun interplay that they have together.
Kolinar. Do we know anything about this Kolinar
Oh, yeah.
business?
Yeah, no,
yeah, we
we know
do.
all
That's
about
been
the
around for a while.
Yeah.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
We talked about those
Yeah.
virtual colonars.
and again,
The Kolinarscopies.
yeah, we did talk about colonoscopy.
So
You talked about that.
it's like a
that's like-
ritual when you're like I'm finally gotten rid of all my emotions.
And
you
so
go through like a ritual.
it's like 10th degree black belt in Vulcan or something.
or
is
like
it?
a bat mitzvah or something.
Well, I mean, Spock hasn't
It's
gone.
like a Vulcan quinceanera.
but Spock hasn't gone through his Kolinar yet. They said
Exactly. Yes, he hasn't.
According to Memory Alpha, it can take several years to go through your.
Yeah. So the order of events.
It takes several years to go through Kolinar.
The order of events is that Spock does not attempt to do his Kolinar business, whatever form that takes in terms of training and all that other stuff. I don't know if he can do it from home,
Like remote.
If
can do a virtual.
remote Kolinar training or what. But in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Spock has left at the beginning of that movie. Spock has left Starfleet to pursue obtaining his Colinar certificate, and from an accredited Colinar Academy.
Colinar Academy.
An accredited Colinar Academy.
Accredited Calamar Academy.
Accredited Calamar Academy.
Calamar Academy.
And-
Calamar Academy.
Let's get some calamari.
Calamari Academy.
Then he
should get
hears
some calamari.
he hears
Hell
or
yeah.
feels the signal from V'ger,
Oh no.
No.
which is a character of sorts in that movie.
Character of
And
sorts.
so he is distracted right before he's about to get his little metal thing. And then so he ends up going off and having an adventure and then being in a bunch more movies and in TNG and in a couple more movies. So he never, indeed, I don't believe he ever, I don't think there's any on-screen evidence that he ever bothered to go back and get it. I think he gave up the idea of needing it by that stage.
So
Here, when we're meeting him, he is eager to go through that process at some point in the future.
what's the one where they go through
Macarena?
the Vulcan adolescence, Vulcan puberty?
The
Wasn't that,
Ponfar?
was that that's Ponfar?
Well, Ponfar, yeah, they got
Does
the,
that happen a
that's like-
few times? I thought.
Yeah, it's like every 7 years,
Yeah, that's-
but I think it's the
right.
first time is.
But there's a special one
the
that goes
bleakest.
on.
Is that how that song goes? The first time is the bleakest.
First time is the bleakest. That
sounds about
awful.
right.
There's a particular episode I'm trying to remember where maybe it's T'Pol's going through Ponfar.
T'Pol.
Isn't T'Pol go through Ponfar?
I
or
bet
something?
she's a Vulcan.
I don't know, but
I think she gets a
it-
triggered Ponfar,
Okay,
an unexpected Ponfar
I-
due to some hormone or
So-
alien business.
Right, and so I knew that Ponfar happened periodically. I didn't know if there was a special first Ponfar or, anyways. But a Colinar.
Yeah, in Star
where do you
Trek
think
3, we see Spock going through adolescent Ponfar.
That's right.
So how does Ponfar compare to Colinar in terms of age? Which do you think comes first?
Ponfar is a biological function. Colinar is
Yes.
an intellectual ritual.
Right, but
they
that
go
doesn't change, like, that they probably both happen around the same age as relative to other Vulcans.
through. I always got the impression that Spock was quite late in pursuing
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm thinking.
Due to his Starfleet stuff.
Yeah.
So it could be that you're expected. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like a quinceañera or something where it's like that's a mark of moving into adulthood, or so it's something done younger. But then again, Vulcans, they live a long fucking time. So what's young to a Vulcan?
I thought
they're
it-
like fucking hobbits over there.
So it's not like getting your 10th degree black belt in Vulcan. It's not like I retired a master Vulcan now. It's the beginning of the journey.
I think that it's probably like some sort of prerequisite. Maybe not all Vulcans get to do it because not all Vulcans.
but
are
all
up
who
to the
do it get to
task.
be Vulcan.
Yeah, it's like the square and the circle.
Yeah. No, square in the rectangle.
You caught me out on that.
Yeah.
Good job. It's late at night, but you still caught me out on that error.
Yep.
A square.
You got
a
really
square
excited
is
about
a
that.
type of rectangle.
But a rectangle, a rectangle is a square, but a square is a
No, a square
rectangle.
is a
rectangle.
rectangle.
Yeah, I got it back.
All right.
Square is a rectangle. Rectangle's not a square.
How about this? For good measure, for good measure. What am I
A
talking about?
trapezius is a rhomboid, but a rhomboid is not a trapezius.
No.
No, a trapezius is not a type of muscle. You're talking about a trapezoid?
Oh, trapezoid. Oh yeah,
Trapezius.
same difference.
No.
It's the same idea. It's no.
I think a rhombus
It's
is a
based-
type of trapezoid.
It's based on the same shape. Trapezius and trapezoid is a trapezius is a rhomboid.
Well, most
It's a rhomboid.
most celestial objects are oblate spheroids.
We've talked about rhomboids.
Go fuck
before,
yourself.
I think.
All right. Anything else? Any other bits and pieces?
Well, they're all
odds and
quadrilateral.
ends?
They're all quadrilaterals.
Any other knobby knees? What else is going on out
What
there?
other knobby knees?
Yeah,
Is
I'm just
a
saying.
trapezoid.
we got we got to do the end matter bit.
Is
the
a
end bit.
trapezoid a parallelogram?
This has nothing to do with
Yes.
nothing.
It is.
Star Trek, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, so
is a good show.
A trapezoid. I was right. Trapezoid is
High quality programming.
A trapezoid
This is a very good podcast.
So a trapezoid can be called a rhombus. A rhombus when all sides. So a rhombus is a trapezoid.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I had it backwards. God damn it. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, I'm very glad
That's
that
the way I like it.
we could be present when you were reminded of these facts.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any? I hesitate to ask on the off chance that you do,
Oh no.
but
Why are you asking it?
but I gotta ask. Do you have any other Star Trek related points? from
No.
this-
No.
He's just gonna do silly voices.
All right. How about you, Jesse? Any other bobbles and boobles?
No way.
Bits and pieces.
No.
All right.
No.
Yeah. No, and a no. All right. So
I don't think so.
that was that does it for.
I don't think so.
What was the name of this episode?
I'm not joking,
Spheroid?
I've got a real red wagon.
Okay.
I don't think so.
That was the Serene Squall.
No,
Next week.
that was a mighty wind.
Next week.
Oh.
Next week. Next week.
Or was it Mighty Wind, or was it the dog show one?
Next week, we will be discussing the Elysian Kingdom. That's the name of next week's episode. And if you have seen the preview, I will not describe the preview other than to say it looks batshit crazy.
All right.
I believe next week
How can they top this
will be
episode?
way more insane than anything we've seen thus far on Strange New Worlds. However, who knows? They might prove me wrong, and it'll
Prove me wrong, kids.
Have a bunch of dead people.
Set us straight.
Sort of horrible dead bodies all over the place.
Michael Howe played Remy, and he was
Do you
also
know where he was born?
He was also.
Do you know where he was born?
He was an Ironborn he was played Ironborn in Skiff in Game of Thrones.
Yes, but do you know where he was born?
Do you?
Yes, he was born in Banagher, which is in County Offaly in Ireland. Yeah. County Offaly.
Awfully, right.
And it's awfully spelt
I've
like
heard of that
awful, like the fish guts.
Like
awful.
Offaly.
Yeah.
Like awful as in it's awful?
Oh, Fairly.
Like fish guts.
Fish guts are awful. They're
Yes,
gross.
but they're also spelled, there's the
OF.
spelling awful. There's awful. There's like, ooh, whoa, that's an awful odor. And then there's awful, which is the
Awful.
guts of the inside of the bits and pieces of animal.
But when
It's like the guts you don't want.
But when a
Well, you use it for make sausage.
but when a rabbit eats it, it's an awful most foul.
That doesn't make
No,
fowl is a
that's
bird.
It's a bird.
When I said a chicken eats it.
No, you said
He said a rabbit.
When a chicken eats it.
no, you can't go back.
When a chicken
The
eats
joke
it.
is broken.
It's
You broke
it's
the
a
joke.
I ruined it forever.
The joke is broken.
That could have been the funniest joke ever.
Yes,
and I
it could've
ruined
been-
it.
Could have
Broke
been
is
a
your
good
joke.
This is
capper.
why I don't make things, because what if I make them wrong and they're ruined forever?
Yes, that's the nature of the business that
Never,
we find ourselves in.
Never.
Okay.
Well, you don't feed it to a chicken because then it's an awful most foul.
Yeah, okay, so next week we'll talk more Strange New
You don't
Worlds.
feed it to a chicken because you probably got to eat that chicken.
You can find
Then
us
and then it's an awful most foul.
if for some reason you're inclined to do so. You can find us on Twitter.
It's funny because it's true.
At It's Got Star Trek. We're also on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
I hesitate
and
to
on
concur with this
YouTube.
statement.
You just search It's Got Star Trek. You'll find us in all the places, and you can find
Hesitate to confer.
I do.
us on all the
Hesitate to
podcasting
confirm.
services.
Tears
all
in the
that.
Fermi.
We got a website too. It's got StarTrek.com.
Concur, that's
Check
right.
it out. That's
Concur.
easy.
I'm having problems with my words, man.
All right.
What's going on?
It's all right. It's all good. Okay. Well, next week we'll get all our words in a row before doing the podcast.
Squibbly gibblies.
it's gonna be great.
We'll get our foul in a row.
Good night and good
Fish eggs.
next
row.
week. We'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.
Reassociation.
Arg, me mateys. If we ever catch Angel, we should make them walk the plank, arg.
Please stop.